The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Now, like I will tell you something. There are three principles at which the spiritual operates. Three dynamic and dimensional principles. There's principle of words, which include prayer, proclamations, spells for the other world, spells, and then the principle of knowledge. The principle of knowledge is also the principle of power. Then the principle of sacrifice. Now, let me take it from knowledge first. The principle of knowledge, it comes from principle of knowledge. Now, knowledge, like we say, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. That is why one of the other kingdom is called Amok. Amok means ancient order Rosicrucian, which means ancient mystic order Rosicrucian. What it actually means, mystic. Now think what is mystic? The word mysticism and the word occultism are similar. And what is mystic? Mysticism means to be like God, trying to be like God. You are trying to be like God. That is what it means. So now, this particular mystic order, anything mystic order, they operate at the principle of knowledge and confession. Knowledge and confession. Knowledge and confession. Knowledge, confession, and sacrifice. Those are the three basic principles at which the supernatural and the undernatural operates. We have the supernatural, we have the natural, and we have the undernatural. So these principles apply in the three dimensions. Now, so your prayer life cannot be effectual until there is knowledge. Your prayer life cannot be fervent until there is knowledge. But who do you have to be first before you pray? Before your prayer life, he said, the prayer of a righteous man, the effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man. Who is a righteous man? First, I will transliterate the word righteousness from the Hebrew word. The word righteousness from the Hebrew word is Zedakah. The word righteousness from the Hebrew word is Zedakah. The Arabic call it Sadaqah. The Arabic call it Sadaqah. In some other tribes, some call it Saraka, some call it whatever they call it. But the Hebrew word, which is the original, which is the origin of that word, is Zedakah. Now, Zedakah actually means almsgiving. Almsgiving. In other words, generosity or philanthropy. So, what it means is, it is an act of justice. It is an act of justice. That's why you see in the book of Psalm 112, the verse 12. Psalm 112, verse 12. Sorry, I wasn't coming quick. Psalm 112, verse 12. That is why he says, Psalm 112, verse 5, he said, a good man sheweth favor and lendeth. He will guide his affairs with discretion. A good man sheweth favor. Zedakah. So Zedakah is an act of righteousness. So you are not a righteous man until you are generous, until you are a giver. Because giving is an act of justice. He said, a good man giveth. Psalm 112, verse 5. A good man sheweth favor and lendeth. He will guide his affairs with discretion. A good man shows favor and lends. He is generous. He will guide his affairs with discretion. He will not see a poor person and ignore. He will not see somebody in pain. He will not take advantage of someone else. That is a righteous man. That is why he now says further in the verse 6, he said, surely he shall not be moved forever. And the righteous shall be in everlasting remembrance. Do you hear it? A good man, that is that man that shows favor. So effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much means that the effectual fervent prayer of a good man, that man that shows favor, that distributes, that is generous, that is compassionate, that has understanding, that is a hero, makes tremendous power that is dynamic in action. So if you are not a righteous man, if you are not a good man, if you are not a generous person, your prayer cannot be fervent and effectual. Like I am saying to you, that the spiritual, the undernatural, the supernatural operates on the principles of confession, sacrifice, and knowledge, which is power. Sacrifice. It takes sacrifice for you to give. You cannot be a giver if you don't have a sacrificial mind. Because that $1, that 1 cent, that £1, that £1, that 1 kobo, you want to give somebody, you could use it for something else that will benefit you. But you decide to give it. But you decide to invest it. But you decide to share it. It takes sacrificial mind to be a giver. If you don't have a sacrificial mind, you can't be a giver. I am a giver. I give to the last. When it's in the power of my hands to give it. But don't expect me to give something somebody else gave me to keep for him to you. I will not do that one. He said, surely he will not be moved. His righteousness endures forever. Now listen to the next one. He said, the verse 4 had said already. He said, unto the upright there arise light in the darkness. He is gracious and full of compassion and righteous. He is gracious and full of compassion and righteous. The verse 6 now says, the verse 7, he shall not be afraid of evil tidings. He is fixed, trusting in the Lord. His heart is established. He shall not be afraid until he see his desire upon his enemies. The verse 9, now listen. The verse 9, Psalm 112. And I say, he had dispersed, he had given to the poor. His righteousness endures forever. His Zedekah endures forever. His horn shall be exalted with honor. Effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Today we are in a generation where a pastor will not even want another pastor to start under him to start his own church or ministry. Because he's afraid he will draw his members. He said, so the principle of giving, the principle. See, that is why occult people, they give a lot. That is why occult people, they give so much. Because they understand the principle. The second one is the principle of confession. Confession. The principle of confession. Now, the principle of confession, that is where they cast spell. They keep saying things. Listen, when these wicked people go to do their wickedness or cast spells, the learners will keep saying it. They keep saying it. You keep saying it. They will keep saying it until it comes. As Christians, we don't cast spells. We pray. So if they have to keep saying it and keep saying it and keep saying it until that is still start happening, it means you have to keep praying. You have to keep saying it in prayer until it start happening. Until it does what? It starts happening. That is the principle of confession. You have to keep confessing it until it becomes a reality. You have to keep saying it until you see it.